Cyber Dragons are my favorite archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! And in this video I'm going to be sharing my deck list that I've been mainly running in Master Duel for the last month or so. I do love playing with the physical cards a lot more, however, due to my knowledge of the game as well as just location to local game stores, playing online just makes the most sense. This current build is legal up to the current TCG. I don't have Predoplant Verde or anything like that in this build, so it is not one-to-one to Master Duel, however it's quite similar. I've been following the Cyber Dragon archetype for many years now, ever since it came out in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I was really excited a few years ago when they released their new structure deck for Cyber Dragons, bringing in Core and Nova, and even more recently Infinity and Seeger. Now a few months ago they released the Cyber Strike support with the Cyber Dark cards, and that only further increased my love for Cyber Dragons, and especially now that we can actually play them in the metagame, sort of. Still kind of a rogue deck, but in general, I think Cyber Dragons is a great deck because there's so many explosive cards in it. This deck that I'm going to be showing you is mainly my going second OTK build, sort of. I'm not really looking to control the game or drag it on too long. I really just want to delete the board and break whatever my opponent has and summon some big Cyber Dragon and win the game. The trap variant I think also has a good place in the game, however, in this video, again, we're just going to be going over the OTK build. I guess maybe not OTK, but mostly a power bond build. After we go into the main deck, then we will go over to the extra deck and then the side deck, although the side deck's not really complete, but it's okay. First, we're obviously running 3 Cyber Dragons. Maybe not obviously, because 2 seems to be a very fair number too. I only have 2 of the ultimate rares, very sad, but we will probably get another one eventually. They're just super expensive. This build does not run machine dupe, so 2 is probably a much better number. However, again, I want to see Cyber Dragons in my hand. Next up is 3 Cyber Dragon Core. This is pretty obvious. This is the main starter of the deck. This helps get cyber spells to your hand, as well as it can be banished from your graveyard to special summon a Cyber Dragon monster from your deck. All in all, an amazing card. Next, we got 3 Cyber Dragon Hers. 2 might be an ideal number here, but for now in this build we're running 3 because we are running the Galaxy Soldiers. When Hers gets sent to the graveyard, you can bring a Cyber Dragon card from your graveyard or deck to your hand. The secondary effect never really comes up. Next up, we got 1 Cyber Dragon Naxter. This I think is perfect at 1. It comes in just when you need it. You do really need cards in your graveyard for it to be more effective, like you want a Nova or an Infinity. I don't really think it's that good at 2 personally because I don't want to see it that often. Next up, we are running an Eltane or Eltani. I don't actually know how to pronounce this, but this is kind of just a spicy card. This can probably get removed for something a little bit more, I guess, meta. However, the main thing here is this: when this thing gets summoned, it sends all other face-up monsters on the field to the graveyard, so it can really board wipe your opponent, especially if they're not expecting it. Now for the Cyber Dark package, we are running the Chimera, as well as 2 Cyber Dark Claw. The Chimera we're obviously running to get Power Bond to our hand, as well as the effect of Chimera allows us to banish Cyber Dragons from our graveyard, or I guess just any monster from our graveyard, to help us fusion summon machine type monsters. Chimera at 2 might be viable, I'm still debating, however 1 seems to do the job, but I do like having backup plans. Either 2 Chimera or 2 Power Bond, I'm really going to be deciding on that soon, but for now this is okay. 2 Cyber Dark Claw. This again is just a starter to help us get Cyber Dark Realm or Cybernetic Horizon to our hand, which is going to further accelerate our plays. It also helps us beat around some hand traps too, because again, no matter what we're doing, our opponent probably has an answer to stop us, and Core, realistically from the games that I played, is not enough. You need at least 2 ways in your hand to get the ball rolling. Cyber Dark Claw gives us that option of just either baiting out a negate or really accelerating our plays. Next up, we have 2 Galaxy Soldiers. This is just great because it pairs with Hers just to try to get more of our XYZ plays out, or Xyz plays. I don't really feel the need for 3 at all, and obviously you can't run 1, so 2 is fine. Although for this build in particular, I'm mainly focusing on, again, the Power Bond build, so I almost want to cut 2 Galaxy Soldier, maybe even a Hers. The reason for this is to free up some more space for potential board wipe cards, or just more cards that are going to, again, get me to my fusion summons. However, for right now, 2 Galaxy Soldier and the 3 Hers I think are fine. But again, space is a little bit limited, and we really have pretty impactful cards. One thing I forgot to mention too, that kind of rounds up the Cyber Dragon aspect to it. Dry I don't run because, again, I'm not really maining, or I don't really want too many Xyz summons. don't really care about that. Veer I kind of want to run because it chain blocks core. However, again, the room, I don't know if it's needed, but it is definitely a very high option. There's also some other cards I'll go over in a little bit, but for the main Cyber Dragon monsters, that is pretty much it. Going back to the monsters, we run the Pankratops. This is just so good. Like, for a going second card, it's just a beefier Cyber Dragon. It's got 2600 attack, and it can sacrifice itself, or I guess tribute itself to destroy something on the field. Just crazy. Definitely, I recommend running it. Even though it's not a machine or it's a light monster, it's just if you have it in your hand and you're going second, it's just a great card to have. Last monster in the deck, we run one Yugioh. I am considering actually running two. So I have tested it here and there. However, again, it just depends on making room. If we did cut the Galaxy Soldiers, I'd probably add a Yugioh just because it's just so good. There's so many problems that this thing solves, and you can just contact fuse it away. I really do like it. I definitely recommend at least one in the deck. However, one thing to consider is with the new Clockwork card coming out, where it makes everything machine type monsters on the field, Yugioh might not be needed because you can just summon a Cyber Dragon and contact fuse everything away with Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. It is something to consider. That card is not out yet, so we will have to see. Wrapping up the monsters, let's head on over to the spell cards. For the spell cards, we obviously run 3 emergency. It's just, it helps search out more cards, really get your deck going. It's basically a starter. After that, we're going to run 2 Cyber Dark Realm. Cyber Dark Realm gives us the ability to have a 1 card OTK. We can go over it in a different video. Next up, we're playing 1 Cybernetic Horizon. 2 maybe, but again, you need to have a card in your hand to discard, as well as, we only running the 2 Cyber Dark Claw and 1 Chimera. We don't run enough Cyber Dark cards to make this actually viable. However, we do want it to push ahead for game, as well as get more cards in the graveyard that we can use for fusion summoning. I think 1 is pretty fine, although it does seem a little, skimpy. Running 1 Cyber Repair Plant. This, I don't think 2 is necessary because, again, we have a lot of ways to search, but this is the main way we're going to be searching for the Yugioh. I'm really ever going to be searching for Galaxy Soldier in this. However, again, it is an option, but just another way to search for some cards. Just has the downside sort of needing a Cyber Dragon in your graveyard, which is pretty doable. Next up, we run 2 Triple Tactic Talons. What a spicy card. As long as your opponent activates a monster card effector in your main phase, you either Pot of Greed, Change a Heart, or I forgot what that other card is called, but you look at their opponent's hand and you take 1 basically. I think it's so good. Especially going second, your opponent almost has a board summoned, and even if they hand trap you, you have an option to either get 2 more cards or maybe steal a card from them. It really depends on the situation, but usually you're going to be drawing 2 more cards. Next up, I have a Cosmic Cyclone as well as a MST. Just some more trap and spell card hate. I really do think Cosmic is a little bit better just because you get to banish a card instead of destroy it. Or I guess you destroy it, or I guess it technically says banish. But anyway, the losing 1,000 points might be a little, I'm not gonna say it's a lot, but it could add up. But I think the upside of banishing is a lot better than MST. But I like MST just for the nostalgia. Next up, we have our fusion spells. We're running a Power Bond, obviously, because we need to search for it. I am considering 2 because I just get a little nervous that something's gonna happen to like it's gonna get negated or something's gonna happen to 1 Power Bond, and I at least want to have 1 more in the deck. The alternative to that is we are running a Overload Fusion. So Overload Fusion is not Power Bond, honestly, because you're not doubling the attack and you're not summoning any fusion or machine fusion from your extra deck. You are only summoning a Dark Machine, and you'll see in a moment we really only have 1 target for that. However, Overload Fusion is just a card that you really want to have at least as a 1-of, just because there's going to be some cards in your graveyard in Power Bond and it needs to be on the field or in the hand. However, if you activate, again, Chimera's effect, bringing a Power Bond to the hand, and then you play Power Bond, that turn you're allowed to banish cards from your graveyard. So that's kind of why I'm considering either 2 Chimeras or 2 Power Bonds instead of an Overload Fusion, but for now that's what we'll do. The last fusion card we have is Cyberload Fusion. This is going to be searchable off of core, just another way to get some fusion cards onto the field. The good thing about this too is if we do banish stuff either with power bond or just in general things get banished, we can bring it back, or we can bring the banished cards back to our deck by using those, so there's that effect. Next up for our destruction cards, we run 3 Raigeki. That's right, we're going old school. Now in Master Duel I do run Lightning Storm, however it's because in Master Duel I can only run one Raigeki. I think there are pros and cons to each. Obviously Raigeki's OG and it's awesome. However, Lightning Storm is also can hit back row. However, people are playing around Lightning Storm, so that's why I really like Raigeki. I mean, you could play around it by negating and stuff, but if anything, it just destroys all their monsters in the field and they have to negate it, so. Also, it doesn't cost like $50, $60 either. And I think, again, just the flavor for it is super spicy because it's an OG card. Just because I'm an insane maniac, we're running a Dark Hole because, again, I don't feel like running Lightning Storm. And also, it's OG, it's OP, deletes the whole field. Most of the time, I'm almost always going second anyway. I don't have a board. I'll play this card first. In Master Duel, I usually run 2 or 3 of these just as a supplement. So I at least have 4 to 5 I delete the board kind of card. I think it's super fun. It definitely either baits out a negate or just deletes the entire board, making way for one of our fusion monsters. But yeah, super spicy. Next up, we got Change of Heart, one of my favorite Magic cards ever. I don't know how good this really is now, but at the same time, who cares? It's Change of Heart. It's one of the coolest cards in the game. I gotta run at least one in the deck. Take control of your opponent's monster. It's amazing. Next up, we got 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. We are maining boarding this because why not? If anything, it's just a MST without the quick effect. But most of the time, it just deletes your opponent, especially going second. I would run 3 of these in a heartbeat. Get it? Never mind. I would run 3 of these if I could. Call by the Grave is the last spell card because you just have to, right? You just gotta. And then for the traps, we run the Infinite Impermanence because we need, I guess, some way to, disrupt our opponent turn 1. And you can see we aren't running any hand traps, which you can. But again, the main reason why we're running this is because Cyber Infinity is on it, so that's why we got to do that. I am not running Overflow because it's not that it's bad. It's definitely a great card. It's just for room purposes, and if I could run a Cybernetic Overflow or another Raigeki or Dark Hole, I'm gonna pick the Dark Hole or Raigeki because, again, of the playstyle I want this deck to have. Cybernetic Overflow can definitely bring you back from the game. However, again, just because of the things that I wanted to do in this deck, I did not opt to play that. Next up, let's talk about the extra deck. Extra deck, we're going to be rocking Cyber Twin Dragon because Twin is literally one of the coolest cards in the game. Sometimes you just want to hit for 5,600 2 times and that just kills your opponent. Also, if you always play the Chimera tech, sometimes that 2100 attack, if the power bond doesn't go off or something else happens, just isn't enough. However, 28 is always a pretty high number. Next up, we have Cyber End Dragon because it's a Cyber Dragon build. You gotta be running Cyber End. In Master Duel, I almost play this card every opportunity I do have. I play Cyber End, and it's awesome because you can turn 1 to 8,000 damage. Sure, there's multiple ways of doing 8,000 damage or plus in your second turn, but with Cyber End Dragon, it's the best way. Next up, we have Eternity Dragon. This card's actually super good as long as you have a fusion monster in your graveyard, which you can do using Cybernetic Horizon. The secondary effect I never really use. It's not a quick effect, which is quite sad. However, super good card. The main reason why I play this card is because your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That's only if you have a machine fusion monster in your graveyard, which you can get there. But yeah, DPE, no worky on Eternity. Next up, 2 Chimera Tech Mega Fleets because it's a great card, man. Just having an answer to any Link monster in the extra monster zone is pretty spicy. Just delete it and they can't do anything about it. Run 2 because usually you see at least 1, usually 2. Running 1 Fortress Dragon. This probably will go to 2 or 3 if that DNA surgery, the Clockwork card does come out. But yeah, you always want an option to get rid of the Jizakuru that you summon, as well as if anyone has a machine type monsters on the field, you want to just delete them. We are running 1 Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. This might be dumb because it's probably 2 is better, but for space purposes, I wanted these cards. Sure, you could take out Eternity or Cyber End, but I don't think you can. Definitely probably the best Cyber Dragon card that you're going to be playing just because of the availability to summon it as well as the effect it has on the field. But again, I like the OG stuff, so we'll stick to that. Next up, we're running 2 Cyber Dragon Infinity and 1 Nova. Reason for doing this is, again, space reasons, but the reason why we're running 2 Infinity over Nova is because if later in the game we do revive Nova with Naxter, we can at least summon Cyber Dragon Infinity on top of it with at least 1 material. We are running the Zeus. I have very rarely actually played this card, but for right now, I had to add it because it's Zeus. It's amazing. The only thing with Zeus is, the only reason why I'm also having this card in the deck right now is because we have the Galaxy Soldiers. If we took the Galaxy Soldiers out, I would take out an Infinity and a Zeus, and I would trade it for something else just for space. We have the obvious Almirage because sometimes you gotta get rid of a Cyber Dragon Core, Naxter, or hers, and you gotta get it into the graveyard, and this is the best way to do so. I don't like how it takes up a slot, but I understand why. Next up, we have the Lina. This is a new addition, and I've been experimenting with it, but I really do like it. When you summon it, you can target 1 light monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it, and if this link monster is destroyed by battle or by a opponent's card effect, which is quite common, especially with cards like DPE, you can add 1 light monster with 1500 or less defense in your deck to your hand. Both effects do come up, and I just like having some other answers and just certain problems out there. I think it's needed. And then obviously we have 1 Seeger because it helps us with the OTK, as well as just give us this big boy beater that you can obviously quick effect and make it immune to battle damage basically. I did realize I just messed up. There's only 14 cards here, so that's great because we get an extra card. Now there's 4 main options I'm really considering here. We could get another Chimera type Rampage Dragon because the probability of us summoning it at least once per game is pretty high. Pleiades is pretty great because it just bounces cards. We could always add another Cyber Dragon Nova. And we could also add Gaia Dragon the Thunder Channeler. This is great though because it gives us, if we go in Nova, Infinity, Gaia, then Zeus, just a big boy Zeus. I think for now we'll probably just add this card because it's pretty spicy making a huge Zeus, but at the same time it's very versatile in what we can play here. Depending on the meta, again, Pleiades might be the best, or just having another Nova, really depends. Alright, so that is the extra deck, and now I kind of want to go over a little bit of a side deck as well as just some other cards to consider. So Red Reboot, it's just amazing. If your opponent plays trap cards, you can really just OTK once you have the Red Reboot. However, it is banned at 1 or limited to 1, so just that card. Dark Ruler No More is a card that I have not really played a lot of, however, it's just super impactful. Although your opponent takes no battle damage this turn, it really can help destroy an entire board because your opponent can't activate monster effects in response to this. Activate this card, you can Raigeki after or something if you have the card, and you can really hurt your opponent. Unending Nightmare, just if you're going a little bit second, you can just really destroy spell and trap cards on the field. We got some D barriers, just again for going first, same thing with Unending Nightmare, going first cards, if your opponent chooses you to go first. We got some Silent Graveyard. This is going to help us by discarding a card. We can basically turn off everyone's graveyard from cards activating. I got like Effect Veiler and Ghost Rabbit just as some more cards just in case. I mean, again, this is kind of a sideboard, but kind of a loose sideboard. I think it's more than 15 cards. Got some Judgments just for going second, like a Chalice, just some removal, Book of Moon. Got another Jizukiru, Power Bond, and just some other random stuff. There's some other cards that we can chat about, however, this video I think is getting incredibly long. I have my Cyber Dragon little box here with, again, just some more cards to consider in here. For the trap variant, I have all the trap cards and such in there, and that will be another video. However, for right now, I'm really just spending a majority of my time playing the Power Bond build because I love playing Power Bond. I guess, I mean, the trap build can also have Power Bond, but again, we're kind of focusing on just deleting our opponent with Power Bond and that, so I don't know if that really made sense, but this build doesn't run traps because it's the type of playstyle that I wanted to go for. Anyway though, hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for some more Cyber Dragon videos because I love Cyber Dragon, and yeah, we'll be playing a lot of Cyber Dragon, so stay tuned. Give me some tips and feedback below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, everybody.